Where in the world are you today?
I'm in Redwood City.
Okay, let's call the regular session of the Historic Resources meeting for Monday, December 19th to order, please. And we need a roll call.
Sure. Board Member Goodhue?
Here.
Board Member Hall?
Here.
And Chair Croman?
Here. And we'll start with public appearances. Any members of the public have anything to speak on, matters of municipal concern or other items as they relate to the Historic Resources Board? Seeing none, we will move on to announcements.
Is there a Zoom? Excuse me. I guess not. Nobody's on Zoom?
There is.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any announcements?
None from staff.
Okay. So then we'll move on with the consent agenda. First, we need to review and adopt the minutes from September 19th. Does anybody have any discussion of the minutes? No? Okay, so can we have a nomination to approve the minutes?
I move to approve the September 19th, 2022 minutes.
I second.
Okay.
Is this on?
I don't think it is. Okay. Board Member Goodhue?
Yes.
Board Member Hall?
Here? Yes.
And Chair Croman?
Yes. Okay, and then we'll move on to the adoption of the 2023 Historic Resources Board calendar, which was sent out to us in the packet. Does anybody have any significant issues with any of the dates? Then I think we should go ahead and adopt the calendar as listed. Do we need a motion for that?
We probably should, since we separated them out.
Okay.
I make the motion that we approve the calendar for the coming year.
I second.
Board Member Goodhue?
Yes.
Board Member Hall?
Yes.
And Chair Croman?
Yes.
Great.
Okay, and then we'll go to the public hearings.
All right, well, thank you and good afternoon. Let's see. Is it not up on your computer?
It's on the computer,
Oh, it-
but
okay.
it's not, this isn't lowered. Is there a source of that somewhere?
I believe there's a screen up there.
Yeah.
But
is
it's
there a-
high.
Is it automatic or no? I'll risk my life. Putting it in. No, probably not. Probably not.
Sebastian, do you know how to lower the screen? We'll give him just 1 second.
Okay.
Oh.
Technical. Okay.
Yes, this is very advanced.
I can see that. I can see that.
All right, we learned something new.
There we go.
Thank you for your technical expertise.
Thank you, Sebastian. Okay, so this afternoon, the board is considering design study application 21-436 for the Libreri project. The residence is on the local historic inventory and is called the Casa Laiolo after Barney Laiolo. It's a 4,852 square foot, 3-story residence on a lot that is over 11,000 square feet in size. The applicants are proposing an extensive interior remodel, also reorganization of the existing floor area, reconstruction of the upper floor, and the construction of a new detached accessory dwelling unit. So this residence was moved to the location on San Antonio in 1929. It was also remodeled at that time by Frederick Bigland. The owner was, Vera Peck Millis. She owned the home, and she was well known throughout the community, hosting many social events, including concerts and weddings. In 1945, William and Lolly Fassett purchased the home, and Lolly was the granddaughter of Frank Powers, one of the founders of Carmel. Then in 1953, Barney and Frances Laiolo purchased the home. Barney is a significant figure in the history of Carmel. He served on the Planning Commission from 1965 to 1968, and then was serving on the City Council from 68 to 72, that entire time as the mayor. He then returned to the council in 1980 as the first publicly elected mayor in Carmel. So this home was designated as a historic resource in October of 2020 for its association with Barney Laiolo. The character-defining features of the home include the wood shingle roof with the cross-gabled roof system, the cantilevered balcony with flat sawn balusters and simple posts, the plain window surrounds with false plank shutters and decorative lintels, the front-facing U-shaped plan and entry courtyard, the angled front door, which is recessed in an arched door surround, and the massing with the two-story central block flanked by one-story wings. There are also some decorative cartouches in the entry courtyard that have been identified as character-defining. So any major alteration to a historic resource requires review by a qualified professional in historic preservation, and also requires review and approval by the Historic Resources Board. Following the board's review of the project, it will be forwarded on to the Planning Commission for final approval of the design study. So the Secretary of the Interior has 10 standards for rehabilitating historic resources, and rehabilitation is defined as making possible a compatible use for a property through repair, alterations, and additions while preserving those portions or features which convey its historical, cultural, or architectural values. So the 10 standards for rehabilitation are listed here on the left. They were also included as attachment 4 in the packet. I'm not going to read through all 10 of them, but I will say in summary that the project was found to meet standards 1, 2, and 10, so it complies with those standards. Standards 3, 4, 7, and 8 are actually not applicable to this project. And then we're going to talk a little bit more about standards 5, 6, and 9, and the recommendations that would need to be implemented in order for the project to meet those standards. So starting first with standard 5, in order for the project to be consistent with standard 5, the character-defining baluster and simple posts at the front entry balcony do need to be preserved. They can be removed, stored, and protected during construction, and then would need to be reinstalled after reconstruction of the second floor. Additionally, in your packet, you'll see a design for a railing to increase the height to meet the building code for safety. The historian is recommending that a more simple railing design be implemented in order to maintain the look of the existing railing design.
And just to clarify, because it's a historic resource, that code doesn't have to be met.
Correct.
If the owners decide not to do that.
The owners can request that the project be reviewed under the historic building code, and they could receive an exemption to meet the railing height. However, we do find that for safety reasons, a lot of homeowners do want to increase the height, and there are certainly a number of ways that it can be done while being sensitive to the historic resource. So another recommendation that came out of the Phase 2 historic assessment has to do with the new chimney on the south elevation. So the qualified historian is recommending that the height of the chimney be reduced, so to the minimum that is allowed under the building code, and then also that the new brick veneer be painted the same color as the house, so that the visual impact of this new chimney blends into the background and is minimized to the greatest degree possible. And with regards to Standard 9, in order to achieve consistency, the new plank shutters do need to be differentiated from the old. So you see in this picture, if you look at the addition on the right side of the house, so those two windows are going to be modified. The size of those openings will change, so those shutters will no longer fit those windows. So new shutters will be crafted, and the boards can either be slightly wider or slightly narrower to achieve compatibility, but not have them be identical to what is existing. And then also the project, as I mentioned, does include a detached accessory dwelling unit. This is proposed at the northwest corner of the lot. The ADU was mentioned in the Phase 2 report and found to be compatible with the project as far as the materials, features, size, scale, and massing. And so no conditions or recommendations needed for that new structure. So next we're going to walk through some of the elevations and kind of look at some of the changes that are being proposed. So the existing exterior elevation is on the top of the screen, proposed will be on the bottom of the screen, and it'll be this way through the next couple of slides. So you can see the red X denotes the existing chimney on the west elevation, which is proposed to be removed, and a new balcony will be constructed along that side of the house. And then, excuse me, looking at the proposed elevation, starting at the left, this is going to be reconstruction of that north wing. And then the arrow shows the realignment of the roof where the existing staircase is, so that head height will increase and that roof line will flatten out. And then the next circle, right kind of in the middle, that's where the existing sleeping porch is. So you can see the change to the roof line from the flat portion to a symmetrical gable. You can also see the new chimney that is proposed on the south elevation, kind of peeking up over the roof there. And then finally, the circle on the right identifies where an addition is being proposed at the rear of the house. And I guess I should have mentioned, this is the north elevation. So this is facing the driveway, the driveway access to the house. So this is the front elevation, which faces to the east. So here you can see that two-story massing in the graphic at the top. And this is the area that's going to be reconstructed. At the bottom on the left, you can see that new chimney on the south elevation. And then you can see the front view of that, that north wing of the house and how that addition is going to be kind of taken back to something that was more stylistically appropriate for the design. And this is the south elevation. So along this elevation is the cut through from San Antonio down to Scenic. There's a public walkway kind of along this elevation. Again, you can see the new chimney that's being proposed, the flattened roof over the new internal staircase. Lastly, this is the rear elevation. So you can kind of see the difference between what's there today and what's being proposed. Again, starting on the left-hand side, that's the accessory dwelling unit in that lower red circle. And then moving over to the right, that is the two-story addition proposed off the back of the house. And then the next circle over, that is where the existing chimney is located. So you can see how that is proposed to change with the upper balcony and the lower balcony. And then again, that new chimney on the far right, along with a new exterior staircase. And this is a 3D rendering. Again, this is looking at the back of the house. So you see that accessory dwelling unit there off to the left, that new chimney off to the right. There is a second chimney kind of shown piercing the roof line. That has been removed from the project. We just didn't have time to update that rendering, but that element has gone away. And with that, staff is recommending that the board adopt a resolution issuing the determination of consistency with certain conditions. And then just to summarize those conditions, all construction would need to be implemented consistent with the Phase 2 report. The flat sawn balusters with the simple posts need to be preserved while the second floor is reconstructed. The new chimney reduced in height and painted to match the color of the house. There's also a condition about the new wood fascia and eaves, as well as the stucco and the cedar shingles matching the old in design, color, texture, and materials, so that creates continuity between the existing home and the new construction. And then differentiating the shutters from what is there today. So a subtle differentiation between the old and the new. And that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, questions for Marnie?
Any questions?
In number 4, it says the new wood fascia, eaves, and smooth trowel, stucco, and cedar shingles shall match the old in design, color, texture, and materials, but you just said that it will be slightly differentiated, which is what we normally look at. So what is the, I mean, when we look at new construction on an old building, it's usually something that can be subtly differentiated, but here it says it'll match in number 4.
Yeah, so typically when there's an existing feature that's being replaced, we replace those in kind to match. But when you're adding a brand new feature that wasn't there before, there needs to be that subtle differentiation.
Right. So what is it going to be?
So the wood fascia, eaves, the stucco, those are all going to be carried out to match. So in kind with what's there today.
On the existing? Mm-hmm. Okay, but like
the shutters will need to be differentiated.
And what about like the addition in the back and things like that? I know that wasn't necessarily that sided, the addition that will go in the back and things like that. Will that be differentiated?
No.
It won't be?
No, it'll have the same stucco finish.
Okay. And then okay. So I guess we'll open it up. Any public comments on this?
We might want to give the applicant an opportunity to present first.
Yep. So does the applicant or the applicant's representative have anything to share with the board?
Am I on right now?
I'll go first and then Tom can take over. I think what I'm going to say is pretty much repeating what I said when I met you earlier, but I'm Sandra Libreri, my husband Kim's here, and we're the property owners of San Antonio and Ninth. We've been in Carmel part-time. We have a house on San Carlos since 2019. We enjoy Carmel very much, and we decided we wanted a house that was close to town but also with a ocean view, and we found property Casa Laiolo when it came up on the market in 2020, and the property had caught our eyes before because we would walk down Ninth Avenue with our dogs to the beach and we would see the property and go, interesting property, like to know a bit more about it, so we were delighted when we became the owners. Our goal for the renovation is to update the property and also preserve the historic look of the house. As you will appreciate from the tour of inspection, the house as it currently stands has some significant structural problems that need to be addressed as part of this process. And we believe that our plans have been designed to address the concerns in conjunction with preserving the house's historical presence. And we've done this with the help and guidance of both the city historian, Meg Clovis, and also principal planner, Marnie Waffle. And we believe that the design we've put in front of you has achieved this goal. And also we feel there's no doubt that Barney and Eleanor Laioli would recognise the property as their house once the remodel is done. And we also hope that the final results of our project will be a historical property that both the city and the residents of Carmel can be proud of. We'd like to thank the Historical Resources Board for visiting the property this afternoon and look forward to your comments. And also we'd like to thank Marnie for her help and guidance with the project today. Thank you.
Thank
Over
you.
to Tom.
Mr. Miani,
Yes.
please go ahead.
Yeah, so primarily when we got into this project, we were trying to correct code deficiencies in terms of comfort of living, safety, structural integrity. And so most of our energy has been focusing on dealing with those issues. I mean, walking through the house, you can see there's some real deficiencies in terms of the staircase layout, head clearances, the width of the stair. There's some structural issues upstairs on the main level where elements are overspanned, where it's just not a safe structure to inhabit. So a lot of the changes we're talking about, we're just basically taking it up to current code in terms of earthquake safety, energy efficiency, the standards that the fire department requires, and just basically touching on those items so that the house can be here for another 100 or 200 years. And a couple of the issues that we need to focus on, I think, moving forward based on the staff report is how do we resolve the rail height across the front. I mean, right now I think it's about 2 feet high and the current code is 42 inches, and you can't have an opening bigger than 4 inches within that 42-inch height. So even if we put a rail across the top, we still have that 4-inch diameter issue to resolve. And like I say, we've been focusing on public safety or personal safety, and so I think it's very, very important that whatever you do, that the rail meets code. And if there's some way we can integrate some design where we keep the existing flat balustrade detail, fantastic. So that's something that I think we need to study a little bit further. And the chimney issue, I mean, right now the code requires the chimney on the ridge needs to extend 3 feet above the ridge, and that's what it's doing right now. So it's at a minimum height, but we'll definitely paint it out white. And we can definitely minimize the size of it. I think right now it's 2.6 square with the brick veneer. It gets out to be about 3 feet, but we could definitely try to minimize the mass and the height and the size of that as much as possible, as long as we can still meet building code. So other than that, those are my primary comments based on the staff report. I think the project has changed a lot during this process. I think we've been very responsive to the comments and concerns of staff and historians, and I think at the end of the day, we'll all be very pleased with this project.
Thank you very much. Any other comments from the public before we close back down to the board? None heard, so any other comments from the board?
I appreciate that you've considered both interior and exterior, keeping the historic nature of what is there that you can, given the lack of safety of the building. And that's all I have to say. I think it'll be, like you say, something worth saving for the next 100 years.
Great.
I would just like to commend the owners on taking this project on and doing what they're doing with it. I think it's going to be lovely when it's finished.
Yeah, I would echo all that. The one thing I would add, though, is that exterior wall, which seems to be, definitely part of the character and a defining feature, that central or that entry courtyard, if that is something that we want to look at or add on to the assessment, that probably wouldn't be a bad idea. Because I think it is definitely if you didn't have that wall there, it would definitely change the character of the house. And we've seen other homes that have the integrated fencing or whatever that define the house. So I think that might be worth looking at. But I would agree. I think it's it's quite a project to tackle, and I appreciate you guys doing it. So do we have a motion on DS 21-436?
I'll make a motion on DS 21-436, the Libreri home, that we keep the front wall, the brick wall. It might need to be supported a little better or something, but I think it is a defining characteristic of the home. Also, the balustrade, Ken mentioned something about or Tom did, I guess, about that. If it's made safer, I hope that it keeps the integrity of the look of that older piece, and it may not need anything if you don't go out there, which you had mentioned you don't. So that's another issue. Otherwise, I would move, those are the two characteristics that I'm most concerned about at this time, other than what we've already discussed. And I would move to approve the project.
I'll second.
Okay. We have a vote?
Board Member Goodhue,
Yes.
Board Member Hall,
Yes?
Chair Croman.
Yes. Okay, great. And now we'll go on to the director's report, please.
All right. Well, this is our last meeting of the year. So I think I just want to start by saying thank you to all the board members for your time and attention, throughout the year. We, recognize your efforts and the time that it requires to volunteer on this board, and want you to know that you're very much appreciated. So thank you very much. Just a couple of updates. So City Hall is going to be closed starting this Friday, December 23rd, and we will be reopening on Tuesday, January 3rd. So we certainly hope that everybody has a wonderful holiday during that time. You may, I don't know if we talked about this before, but the Community Planning and Building Department has been undertaking a scanning project. So all of our property files that have existed for over 100 years all used to live in file cabinets in our office, and we've been working on scanning all those digitally and making them available to the public. That project is about 85% done at this point, and we're targeting maybe late January or February to complete all of the scanning. So as each file is scanned, it is uploaded to our GIS system, which is accessible from our website. So homeowners, realtors, anyone who's interested can peruse those property files at their leisure. So if you haven't already, definitely check it out. It's such a great resource to have those documents more readily accessible. Also, we're continue to move forward with our Design Traditions 1.5 project. So we are targeting a draft of the residential design guidelines to be available, again, January, February of next year. And then the commercial design guidelines will follow shortly after that. And right now we're targeting March for the next community meeting. So stay tuned. That's just been such a wonderful project, engaging the community, working with Nori and Julie, and it's coming along really, really nice. So we're excited about that. At the City Council's December meeting, they adopted the historic context statement. So we've got their approval, and the next step for us is to submit that to the Coastal Commission for certification. We also had a meeting a couple weeks back on phase 2. So we are pursuing that with past consultants. We're also going to be looking into getting some more grant funding to help pay for that effort. And we'll keep you updated as that moves forward. And then the last item, we still have one vacancy. So Board Member Pomeroy is absent today. And we still have one vacancy for the board. The City Council recently did amend the requirements for who can serve on the board to include professionals that have their office in Carmel, even if their physical residence is not located here. And so that new ordinance, that amended ordinance, will take effect in January. We have received a couple applications for that vacancy. And so the city clerk will be scheduling interviews with the mayor and the vice mayor in the new year, as soon as the ordinance becomes effective.
Is there a deadline on that application process?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
So anyone who is interested that wants to submit an application, they certainly can do that, sending it over to our city clerk, Nova Romero, and then she will arrange for those interviews in the new year.
You said architects with an office in Carmel. Is that, are you looking for an architect specifically, or?
It would be any professional, so our board has to be made up of individuals from different disciplines as well as community representation. And so what we're looking for in filling that vacancy is we need that professional qualification. It can be an architect, it can be an archaeologist. So there's a couple different fields that it could be in. Yeah. And those are all of my announcements.
Great. Future agenda items. So the first one is our next meeting will be a special meeting on the 23rd because I guess the normal meeting falls on a holiday. So that's annotated in the calendar. And just to note, the February meeting is also a special meeting for the same reason, I guess. Do we have any other future agenda items, Carol? I know you have a few.
Just a few. One is that there was a request that the mural next to Nielsen Market be designated as historic. It has graffiti and it needs redoing at a cost of around $80,000, I believe. And they thought that it could be protected better if it were designated as historic. So I'm not sure of the process in that, except that I'm just bringing it up for us to consider that.
Who was the artist?
It was Bates, wasn't it?
I don't know.
I think it was Bates.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Bates did that mural? Wow, okay.
Mm-hmm. Don't quote me, but I think it was.
I don't know.
Yeah. So that's number one. Number two, I wrote up what I call Level 2 Historic Homes proposal that actually the idea was proposed in the 1988 general plan. I wasn't aware of that at the time I wrote this, and it didn't give anywhere near the specifics that I did. But it has been mentioned in the design guidelines steering committee as something of interest, as well as by Nori Winter, not by name but by concept. And so I thought it might be time that we got up to speed on what we're talking about with that, and I would be happy to provide copies of it. Since you saw it, Marnie, I think I've added more incentives that are free to the city for complying with that kind of thing, which I'm sure would make the city happier, other than reducing permit fees and things like that. So I would be happy to provide that to you to distribute for reading, and at least we'll be aware if the topic comes up to us that we'll know what we're talking about. The third thing is a design review board has been discussed by the steering committee, the city steering committee for the design guidelines, and there has been some talk of the Historic Resources Board being combined with that as a possibility, since we don't have sometimes as much to do, and certainly the Planning Commission has a lot to do, and making it possibly 7 people instead of 5 people so that we had a quorum, and it wouldn't delay anybody's program if we didn't have enough people to vote. So that's just something else that I just wanted to bring up as that's being discussed. One advantage of it is that we have not one more group that we have to worry about, but it would be combined. The 2 groups might be combined to do that work as well as the historic resources work. So that's it.
So maybe on the first item, we could get a readout from the staff on, can we take action on something that's not a building to make it historic, right? That's what we're looking for. So maybe we could just get a staff opinion on that. And then on the other 2, I think you're looking to see viability, right? Or what maybe we need an update from, a city update the staff could give us on those two other items.
The combining of the Design Review Board and the HRB is premature at this point. They haven't designated that a Design Review Board, it has not been approved yet. So I just wanted to bring it up at this point as a concept. I don't know that we need to do anything about it right now. Okay. The second one, the Level 2 proposal, can we put that on the agenda for the next meeting?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I can bring back a report for you regarding the mural at the Nielsen Market that discusses what that process would look like for the city to initiate historic evaluation. And also we can come back with a report with the Phase 2 paper and have a discussion about that as well.
Great.
Great. Thank you, Marty.
Okay, anything else? Any other new future agenda items? Okay. Prior to adjournment, any other public hearings on the agenda? I don't think so, right?
Nope.
And no public correspondence. So if we don't have anything else, I think we'll go ahead and adjourn. Right? Okay.
Well, Merry
Thank you.
Christmas, Happy New Year.
Yes.
I would say before we adjourn too, it was very kind of you to thank us, Marty, but I think also owe you a great deal of thanks for, being patient and ushering us through the process and just being a really good, staff resource for us. So we appreciate you a lot.
Thank you.
Ditto.
Thank you.
And happy holidays to everyone.
Happy holidays.